Hello, this is Dr. Terrence Duncan, and this is the second set for the Dissertation Journey. This is Module 9, and the title of this is called Self-Awareness for Doctoral Candidates. As noted before, we looked at 8 different modules for the first set of the Dissertation Journey. We looked at the problem statement, the purpose statement, as well as the research methodology. This time we're going to look at some soft skills, go a little bit more in depth about the soft skills that you need as far as cognitive thinking, situatedness, and examples such as that as you are working towards your dissertation. If you have not seen the first set of the Dissertation Journey, you are able to review that, and modules 1 through 8 notes that it is a broader approach towards developing the dissertation for scholar practitioners. Modules 9 to 13, we're going to look at soft skills and cognitive awareness, and modules 14 through 16 of this particular set will cover the prospectus development. Need to have self-awareness towards academic development, and one way to look at that is to distinguish the difference. For example, in the first module, we talked about being in the airplane, 30,000-foot view, and you use that particular approach as a graduate student as you approach your research. It's more macro-based learning, so you're looking at more broader problems, more broader context of some of the examples that you may encounter based on the type of courses that you're taking. Whereas in the doctoral level, your writing is going to be more scholarly and it's going to be more precise and micro-based learning. Reason being is that you're going to look at problem statements, you're going to look at something a little bit more specific, and you're going to do research that's going to be tailored towards the particular type of problem that you are trying to study. You're also going to have an emotional intelligence component in doctoral writing, and like you do in a graduate writing. So if you took like a healthcare education class, you're looking at economics in a broader sense, whereas the emotional intelligence may deal with some of the problems as to why there could be such economic problems in healthcare, such as like maybe healthcare disparities in minority populations, or you can look at the efficacy of a particular vaccine for a particular subset. So you're going to look at it that it has a more of empathy and other elements involved with emotional intelligence. The proposals that you're going to develop will feature more of emotional connection due to the independent research. You're going to be addressing problems that may be unique to your industry, something that you may be aware of. And the more research that you have, the more tied into how the research connects to the problem that you're seeking to study. Before you get deeper into the writing, just some common ground rules for candidates to keep in mind while you're working on the prospectus, the actual proposal, and the final study itself. Quotes are seldom used, if at all. What we're looking for is a third-person approach, and you're going to remove the personal pronoun aspect of the writing. So you're going to have more of a using your name in a third-person voice. And most of the time, you're going to use words such as the researcher, where you may just frame the particular narrative of the writing by just having a bird's eye view of the particular situation. You're going to feature more synthesis of the literature, and you're going to have more of a promotion of academic voice. So again, this takes away the personal element. You want to look at it from a holistic perspective, and being holistic, you want to remove the singular tense in the way that you address a particular problem or a particular study. You're going to remove contractions and you're going to remove colloquialism in writing. The best way I tell students is that academic writing can be somewhat nuanced and it can be also boring at times. You remove the argumentative part of your writing, you move the persuasiveness away from your writing. You're going to take away more of your unique elements of your personality away from writing. You're going to write basically in one precise manner that's universally practiced across different universities and different academic writing across the world. A significant percentage of dissertations for scholar practitioners, they will contain references within 5 years old. So if you're working on problem assignments, or if you're looking at developing your problem statement or the literature review, you're more likely going to look at events that are more recent, and that's the reason why that you're going to have references within a 5-year-old time frame. Furthermore, you'll have 98% of your references going to contain, or they're going to derive from peer-reviewed journals. Similar to having references within a 5-year period, the use of peer-reviewed journals provides more validity to the assumptions and some of the comments that you might want to provide. into the literature review, or just even as you're developing a problem statement. Scholar practitioners, if you're working on a doctoral study, a dissertation, and the scholar practitioner model, you're going to have an approach that's more industry specific. You're going to derive some of these, derive the approach for the problem statement, purpose statement, and just the scope of your study by personal and professional experiences. If you are going to write on something of that nature, you're going to have to consider, especially in the business paradigm, the economic and the financial impact. You know, if you're going to, there's always going to be a problem in something. You know, we can look at something and always find a problem, but what problems are relevant and what problems are necessary to continue your study? And one way to accentuate that is having an economic or financial impact. Even if you're working on a qualitative or mixed method design, the economic and financial impact underscores the severity of the problem and why such that problem needs to continue to be studied. You're also more likely going to conduct an examination of deficiencies of a process, and it's a time phase element of a problem that you could consider as well, such as the implementation of technology due to government regulation. Theory of intellectual and ethical development. It was developed by Perry in 1970 and is considered as seminal research in many academic institutions. So regardless of what school that you go to or whatever program that you're being involved, it's more likely that Perry's writing in the theory of intellectual and ethical development would be incorporated somewhere in the coursework. You have to note that the researchers journey through 9 different intellectual and moral positions, and that it involves different attitudes towards the coursework, the instructors, and your overall approach towards the learning process. Perry's theory has 4 different categories, and students usually go through these particular processes within these categories. The first approach is dualism, where those are more for people who are actually getting introduced to doctoral writing. They look at it with the framework that all problems have correct answers and all scholars and professors provide the answers. But when you go to multiplicity, you recognize the fallacy of authority. So you may actually look at some of the presentations that I provide or some of the feedback that could be, provided in a particular assignment or in regards to a particular study or outline, and you may disagree, and you might be able to validate that disagreement with additional research by peer-reviewed sources. Relativism, that's what involves where the challenges have more or less secure solutions than answers. So some problems may develop sub-problems that may continue to be studied as well. So if you are looking at academic references, and you're trying to develop the literature review, you might see that some of the authors are repetitive when it comes to that same scope of topic. And the reason being is that sometimes the solutions that are found by conducting one particular method of survey or study, you may not be able to find the answers that you seek. So that's going to require additional research. Commitment with relativism, that's where ambiguity is more accepted, and students enjoy the approach of discovering, evaluating, and using evidence. So as you are working on your dissertation, you're a little bit more stuck between dualism and multiplicity in the beginning. But as you are nearing the end of your product, which would be the final dissertation, you're going to have more ambiguity. You're going to be more accepting of that. You're going to realize that your studies may produce additional questions and may necessitate the need for additional study, and that you're going to be okay with that. Whereas under the dualism approach, actually the dualism category under the Perry's theory, you may think that every problem has an answer. The approach in the scholar-practitioner model, students use this particular model to identify the approach towards problem solving, and it involves the evolution of thinking to incorporate a more holistic approach. So again, when we go back to the common ground rules in doctoral writing, you want to remove the first person tense, and you want to have more of a dual lens, so you're able to see left brain, right brain. You're able to consider different types of methodological approaches in developing your study, and you may apply those approaches as you continue to matriculate through the program. Cognitive nativism involves the combining of dualism and essentialism, and that's some of the approaches that you will actually go through the actual doctoral writing process as you continue to refine your problem statement, your purpose statement, as well as trying to find any extant literature to bring for your study that provides relevancy. What is cognitivism? As explained, it's a combination of dualism and essentialism, and the combination of both produces a set of beliefs that cognitive traits are immaterial. It also recognizes the extant literature towards the problem statement development, as well as acknowledging the current position in the ethical and intellectual development process. So what this means is that you are continuing to refine your approach towards learning and application of the theories that you may come across as you develop your dissertation. The Myers-Briggs model and the Jungian theory. The Myers-Briggs model, very popular. You see it in a lot of businesses and a lot of companies. They may use that to assess the type of personality profile for a particular position. They may have a preference for a particular type of profile for that particular type of position. And it actually is applicable for doctoral students as well. That, with the combination of Jung's typology that was created in 1971, it provides insight for management to determine if the individual possesses the qualities and temperament for a particular position or approach towards the doctoral process. It's very applicable for doctoral candidates because if you're able to have self-awareness and situatedness, it will help guide you on your approach in developing your dissertation. Current application of the Myers-Briggs and Jungian theory. One thing is to note that it is an increase in research topics related to social activism, especially with the pandemic and the rise of social justice related issues, not only from African American rights, but also for those in the LGBTQIA+ community. Social activism is continuing to be a heavily researched topic, and there's no reason to believe that it will change. So that's why this particular element was added to this discussion, because there may be a fair number of students that may be considered writing something dealing with African-American related issues, or something dealing with transgender in the workplace, or something business related like that. Social activism issues make up the fabric of business leaders and employees. So in one sense, in your graduate level classes, you're reading about this in organizational development, organizational culture, the psychology of leaders, as well as their staff and teammates. And so it's not uncommon to find more doctoral candidates leaning towards topics that may have a social activism related focus. So as academics, we should be able to keep that in mind as we incorporate that in our literature review, and also through the further development of our dissertation topic. The evolution of the Jungian theory and the persona approach via the Myers-Briggs model addresses these issues according to Giles in 2020. And he also noted that the social constructionist approach does not provide complete alignment with the Jungian theory. So basically what that means is that the approach towards social activism approach and the dissertation development may not be as linear as it was back in the 70s, 80s, where you may have more discussions or research in topics such as sustainability, or maybe improving the work process, or you may be looking at something dealing with productivity. Those are more process oriented, where now the social constructionist approach is more people oriented. So you're going to have something with that's why emotional intelligence is more applicable as you continue to work on your dissertation, or even if you just read any research related to those particular type of topics. The evolution of the Jungian theoretical approach, it does not diminish its effectiveness. So the theory is still applicable, even though the theory came out in 1970, but it has to evolve. And just like everything else, the business process evolves, technology evolves, the workplace may evolve, the organizational dynamics may evolve, and the same thing with theories. Theories can evolve. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And if you are more interested in that particular theoretical approach, then it is encouraged for you to continue to find research that might be that might add value into the original seminal theory that came out in 1970. Also, the evolution includes the approach towards social activism related research. It involves self-reflection and self-actualization. So as you may recall, on the Scholar-Practitioner model, it's not uncommon for those who are in the industry that they're seeking to write their dissertation about. They might have some self-reflection or even some form of self-awareness during a particular type of process. And the other thing to note about the social constructionist approach and the theoretical approach in the Jungian theory is that it mirrors the evolution of societal structures. The scholar-practitioner approach within social activism, and again, this is just good, even if your topic is not, related to that particular scope of research. Just something to kind of keep in mind, because it is going to be something that's going to continue to proliferate by more and more students, and it's going to be in more research circles. So for example, in 2021, I've seen a lot more academic journals seeking to do research related to social activism. They want to understand the root causes. They want to try to understand some of the problems and find solutions to those problems if possible. So one thing to keep in mind is that there is a diversity of perspectives that could produce more robust findings and research. So similar to like diversity in the workplace, similar in diversity in law enforcement, similar in diversity in education, you're going to have a different set of robust findings. Some of it could be from innovation, and some of it could derive from the different narratives being provided by different research that's going to help you do the ongoing research. Like we talked about, the social approach not being linear, the actual results are not going to be linear. So some of the answers that's going to come out, if there are particular answers during the research, it may not still produce enough of the answers that you need to build something upon. So that's why it may require more qualitative research, because of the complex issues that may arise from the ongoing research that you conducted for your dissertation, or any subsequent research that may be tied into your dissertation topic. And that concludes our 9th module, and I hope that you were able to enjoy it and hear the references that I use for this particular presentation, and it's something that you can keep for your actual literature review repository. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call.